Well, hey guys, we're in Meridian, Mississippi today at Rose Hill Cemetery. We're going to pay our respects to and we'll introduce you to and hopefully teach you a little bit about the only king and queen that I know of that's buried in the state of Mississippi. Let's meet Emil and Kelly Mitchell, the king and queen of the Gypsies. You see, people make the trip to Rose Hill Cemetery here in Meridian to visit Kelly Mitchell's grave, the queen, and if they have a problem they want her to help them solve, they leave her a little trinket. Many times it'll be beads or just some other kind of little trinkets, or maybe even a bottle of orange crush, her favorite. We'll just have to see when we get there. I've seen several tombstones marked with the name Mitchell as we walk around here. Kelly Mitchell was buried in this cemetery in February of 1915. And as I said, people still leave her gifts today. These gifts are a Romani tradition, but probably many of them reflect local superstition as well. As we make our way to her grave, let's talk a little bit about the Romani people. The Romani have held on to their traditions, their language, and even their unique ways of life in places like right here in Meridian, Mississippi. This way of life goes back centuries. The Romani culture is at least 1,000 years old. The name Gypsy was created by non-Romani people based on an incorrect assumption that the group was Egyptian. Some of their burial traditions might be similar, but Romani are not Egyptian. The name Gypsy has negative connotations, and it might even be one reason that the Romani people keep themselves largely isolated. One local here in Meridian was even quoted as saying the only reason we use the word gypsies here is because that is what is carved on her headstone. When Kelly Mitchell died, it mustn't have been considered a negative thing to be called a gypsy because they revered their queen, and surely they wouldn't have put it on her headstone if it brought shame. The Romani originated in northwest India about 1,000 years ago. Foreign invaders came in and, well, they made their way to where Turkey is now. About 800 years ago, they arrived in Europe and they encountered misunderstanding, persecution, and even slavery. The Romani were exterminated along with the Jews in Nazi concentration camps during World War II. Exact numbers are not clear, but somewhere around 2 million Romanis were killed during World War II because Hitler considered the Romani to be racially impure. Thus, they were part of his final solution. Nowadays, there are about 12 million Romani worldwide, and they have been coming to America from places all over Europe and Hungary and Russia. A professor of Romani studies at UT Austin says Romani can pass for any nationality. They deny specific ethnic and racial mix. They all look different. Even today, there are several distinct Romani subgroups living in the United States. What unites these subgroups is their shared language and, well, traditions. The Mitchell clan, a lot of whom seem to be buried right here, were said to be from Hungary originally and came to this country from Brazil. Emil Mitchell, the king, was definitely born in Brazil. At 27 years old, Emil was head of the Mitchell clan in Cleveland, Ohio. Queen Kelly was most likely also born in Brazil. She did not have many queenly duties. This was an honorary title, simply because she was married to Emil, the head of the clan. The Mitchells were living in Coatapa, Alabama, when the queen died after giving birth to her 15th child. Yes, you heard that right, 15. Actually, there's some uncertainty as to whether it was 14 or 15, but at that point, my goodness. The queen was 47 years old when she died. It seems they chose Meridian as her place of burial because it was the closest city with a funeral home that had the ice necessary to preserve her body until the clan could gather for the funeral. They gave the Romani people 14 days to come from all across the country to Meridian to pay their respects to their queen. The funeral was held at St. Paul's Episcopal Church, and more than 20,000 Romanis attended. The Meridian High School band followed the black hearse the half-mile from the church to the cemetery. The local paper said that the Queen was laid out in one of the finest caskets that money could buy. They placed candelabras at the head and the foot of the silver-trimmed casket. Her head was covered in a bright silk drape pinned at the back and rested on a cushion of satin. The paper goes on to say that she wore a royal robe of gypsy green and other bright colors. When her 15 children arrived, each put a memento of some kind in the casket. In order for the Queen's journey to be comfortable, the coffin was equipped with a comb, brush, and toilet accessories, as well as working clothes to use on the other side of the river Styx. The King, Emile, died in 1942 and of course is buried right here next to her. Emile's funeral was not as grand as the Queen's, but it was a double burial because his uncle was killed in a car wreck on his way to his nephew's funeral. And here they are side by side. Mitchell clan descendants still travel to the cemetery every year to add their trinkets to the graves. When Romani people are buried, they're buried with things they might need in the afterlife. They're also buried with things that they loved in their earthly life. They clean off the graves from time to time, so there aren't too many trinkets here today. I'm disappointed we haven't found any orange crush on the Queen's grave. The 1915 era newspapers reported that mourners flipped $20 gold pieces into the Queen's casket before it was closed. Robbers have tried to dig the Queen up at least on 3 separate occasions, one in 1947, once in 1959, and once again in 1976. The caretaker of the cemetery had to place steel bars and concrete over the vault and under the gravestones to prevent further damage. Not too many people seem to bother the trinkets, though. Workers have to clean the graves off from time to time, but apparently, according to one article I read, there was one little old lady that came by every Saturday morning to get the change left on these graves. She would take every bit of change left on the graves except the pennies. One article I read said the Romani people ended up here because, well, the people of Meridian were nice to them. And I believe it was that same article that said the last gypsy caravan came through Meridian somewhere around 1955. Well, I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about the Romani people and the King and Queen of the Gypsies today. They're truly Mississippi royalty. Thank you.